And welcome back to another episode of the Idiots Football Show. On this episode, we got some new idiots here to join us. Of course, I'm idiot number one, your host, Zach. Go Birds, baby. I got idiot number two on my right, Dallas.
Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm used to a lot of disappointment.
That's because he's a Cowboys fan. It happens. Got idiot number three on my right, Gareth.
I'm Gareth. I'm a Jets fan, unfortunately.
That happens. Got idiot number four on my left, Bernardino.
Let's go Big Blue. I like a man in the Nike Tech.
Oh, Lord. And we got idiot number five to round it out on my left, Angelo.
Giants fan. Happy to be here.
Hey, appreciate it, boys. Appreciate it, boys. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start talking about our NFL playoff hot takes on this episode. You know, I'm very intrigued to see what you boys have to say. It's been a while since we really got to talk some good football, but all I know is that my Birds are going to take the cake. We're going to be the first. We're going to be number one in the NFC no matter what. It's going to happen. We're going to cruise through it. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. Yeah, I really got to hear it from you, Dallas fan. Come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
First round exit, man. That's all I got to say.
Because, Dallas is full of disappointment. It happens that way. It really does. So we're going to take a hot take here. We're going to go around the horn. We're going to see, everybody's hot take, have a little conversation about it, go from there. So my hot take is that the New England Patriots will be the number 2 wild card team in the AFC. They will be. I genuinely think they're a pretty decent team. I know they lost the Vikings this week, but I think they have something to them. I like their run game. Their defense plays well. It's really just going to lean on the shoulders of Mac Jones, a quarterback who has done some good things in the past in his rookie year and has a little something here. But I really think I really think he can do something throughout the rest of the season and really put them on top and get them that wild card spot.
I mean, I genuinely think they don't even make the playoffs at this point.
Really?
I mean, you got the Bengals. You have the Jets. I mean, who's the third other team there?
I don't know. I have a feeling the Jets are going to fall apart, man.
I mean, you got the Dolphins. You got the Bengals who are sneaking up in there right now. I think the
Chargers.
the Chargers can maybe even get in there. I mean, you have, I think, 3 or 4 other teams that could definitely make it over the Patriots.
I don't know, man. I just like that Patriots coaching, especially late in the season. You can't bet against Bill. It's hard to do that. Bill Belichick, obviously the most accomplished coach in the NFL.
I actually bet against Bill yesterday. He won a lot of money. So.
Sometimes it happens, but Bill is normally that guy. He's normally that guy. Obviously coming off a Thanksgiving loss, it was a little difficult for him. Mm-hmm. But we really get to see what this Patriots team looked like, and their offense actually was it worked out pretty good. They looked like a semi-competent offense for once. Their defense kind of was lackluster compared to previous weeks, and I really think if this offense can sustain that actual ability to score points like they did against the Vikings, I really think they have something to show for themselves, because it seems like the Vikings might be a fraud team in the NFC, just a very weak conference this 100%. Year. So it's going to be very interesting going forward here. So any of you other boys got a hot take here?
I just think the 49ers want to make it to the championship game. That's my hot take, I guess. Maybe
I'm not even sure that's a hot take either.
Maybe not a hot take at this point, but the record shows that they're just not as good as they probably should be. But I think they make it to the NFC Championship.
I think their championship hopes lie on the hands of Jimmy Garoppolo.
On the Garoppolo?
On the Garoppolo. I mean, they've got the defense, they've got the offensive line, they got Trent Williams, they got CMC now. But teams they live and die by the quarterback. So we'll see what happens.
That's very true. And you know what? Here's my thing. Jimmy G's done it before. He's been able to get into the big games, win the big games. He really has been a successful quarterback, in terms of wins. And this is something that he's been able to excel in, especially with this 49ers team looking as strong and as stout as they do right now. Obviously they're currently tied for the number 1 spot in the division against the Seattle Seahawks, a team that has really surprised us this season, a team that unbelievably has done so much better against all odds. It's been a really surprising season for them. But I think moving forward here, we really could see something special out of the Niners. I do agree. I don't think that's necessarily a hot take. I actually kind of like where you're going here. I really do. So, anybody else? You got any hot takes here?
My hot take, kind of like completely disagreeing with that, is that Seahawks win that division.
Ooh.
They have the same record right now. Right?
They have the same record right now. They still have to play the Rams twice, who I think they're beating both times, especially with their third-string quarterback they've got in now. I mean, I don't know what the situation is towards the end of the year, but
it doesn't look good for Matt Stafford. It really doesn't. And especially if Matt Stafford can't play, they'll start shutting down their other players just to keep them alive.
They've got the Raiders. They've got the Panthers. I mean, I think, Chiefs and Jets are going to be tough games, but if they can beat the Niners, they're winning that division.
And here's the thing, if they can steal a game from the Chiefs or the Jets, I think that's really something to show for this team. I really think that could help accelerate them into the playoffs.
And I'm not counting out the 49ers, but I think Seahawks take the division.
especially in a weak NFC. I really think
Yeah.
that's very possible. You know, the NFC hasn't really shown too much this season. They've really been the lackluster division compared to the
And I
AFC.
wouldn't be surprised if the Giants, completely fumble and blow their entire chances to make the playoffs.
So would you argue that the Washington Commanders are going to take over the positional
yes.
lead? Because they are only
Over
a
the
game back of the
divisional
Giants.
lead.
Well, the divisional lead over the Giants. Yes,
No,
yes.
I think we still have 2 more games. We have to play them twice still, and we're beating them both times. So that's not
I
the
don't know
issue.
about that. Taylor Heineke.
You won't be
he's
seeing
something
Carson
else.
Wentz, I'll tell you
He's
what.
He's something
What,
else,
a
man.
40 passer rating? He's going to beat our team, bro?
Just beat the Eagles.
Yeah, you
I don't know
what?
if it was him.
I don't know if that was necessarily him or the game plan. I think the game plan kind of kicked our ass in that game, and we saw the Colts try to replicate that same exact game plan,
Exactly.
and they almost succeeded with
If
it, but
Jeff
they
Saturday
came up
can
just
lose
short.
by 1 point, then I'm not giving the Commanders win any substance there.
That's fair enough. You know, I think this team is going to be very interesting. You know, they got a lot to show for themselves, both the Giants and the Commanders. Now, you know, I'd like to bring something up here, you know, because I think it's going to be very interesting come playoff time. What New York team do you guys think is going to collapse here? Because I really do feel that a collapse for one of these 2 New York teams is quite imminent. And, you know, obviously we have 2 Giants fans and a Jets fan in here. So I really want to hear from either side. You know, who do you guys think is going to fall apart?
I'd like to hear what Garrett has to say
I
about
mean,
this.
with the benching of Zach Wilson, that's not a really good look for us right now. But
You have the legend
Looking
Mike
at the
White
rest-
stepping in.
Looking at the rest of the schedule, though, it's not bad. It's not. We could definitely
What is
win.
it? Another Bills game?
I mean, we got the Bears. We got the Bears, and then the Vikings and Bills. I say we maybe
Those are
win.
tough
I say we
games.
maybe win
Those
one
are
of
very
those
tough
games. Then he goes Lions, Jaguars, and then we come to the Seahawks and the Dolphins. We beat the Bills, we beat the Dolphins already. I mean, we could definitely win 2 out of the 3
Sounds like a
games.
lot of L's to me.
Sounds like a lot of very
That's what
tough
I- that's
games in
what
your near
sounds-
future. That's what I'm
A
hearing.
lot
I
of
mean-
L's. I
Mhm.
mean,
A lot of very, very tough games in the
I
Jets'
don't
future
think-
here.
I don't think a collapse is going to come, but I mean, we might get the last seed and play like the number 2 seed, which would be what, like the Dolphins or maybe even the Bills or the Chiefs. But I don't think a collapse isn't coming. I just don't see our future going much further than a first round exit if we do make the playoffs. I think that's my realistic take.
Fair enough. Nick
I got-
Bernardino, you got anything to say here? You've been awfully quiet. I like to hear something out of you this episode. Come on now.
So am I talking about the Jets or the Giants?
Talk about either or.
Let's
I
talk about
want to
the
see what your
Giants.
take is,
Yeah,
man.
let's
Come
go to
on.
the
I thought you were
Giants.
you're
I think
supposed to
the
be the Giants
Giants-
fan in here.
I think the Giants are going to. They're gonna, I think they're gonna lose the majority of the remaining games of the season, but I think they're gonna sneak into the playoffs. I think they will definitely.
How do they do that if they lose the majority of games?
They'll be 9-8. That's good enough. That's good enough for the last.
Sometimes that is good enough to get it done. In a very weak NFC, that might be enough to get it
I
done.
think we go to Tampa Bay and we beat Tom Brady in the wild card game.
Wow.
That'll be my hot
Wow.
take. That'll be my hot
I like it. I like it.
Listen. Playoffs or not, we got to put this into perspective, right? Going into this season, I would have been shocked if you told me the Giants had 7 wins for the entire year.
Yeah, of course.
So the fact that we're at 7-4 right now, and even we're talking about the playoffs, over halfway through the season, like, I really can't ask for more. And if they make it, they're not a great team. They're hurt. They have no offense. Let's just be real about it. They have no receivers, and their line is destroyed. So
Let's not forget about the loss of Adoree Jackson,
That
their number
too.
1 corner. He really was a
And McKinney's
mainstay.
been out. Like all of our main
Receivers,
defensive
no
guys
receivers.
besides the line. It's just like if we can make the playoffs and go with a first round exit, I would be pleased with the season. Even now, I'm pleased with the season. So like looking forward to next year. I mean, we're not winning this year, but
I mean, that's the thing with the NFC East. We've all got
I
a
think
cupcake schedule, and I think that's something that the Eagles should be worried about. Just playing all these,
That is
cupcake
true.
teams.
That is true.
So that, if they get the first round bye, which it's looking like they will.
Looking very likely.
Very likely they will. So I want to know your thoughts. Most teams after having a first round bye, they look rusty when they come back, and the Eagles haven't really played from behind a lot this season. So if they get behind in that playoff game, it'll be interesting to see how they fare in that game.
No, I don't disagree at all. I think this loss against the Commanders 2 weeks ago was really something important for the Eagles in this season. They needed a loss. They really needed to kind of get it going, kind of have some adversity in their face. Really try to figure out what's going on. So you just got to do what you got to do. Really, I think the Eagles. I know they've had a little bit of issues here in the past couple weeks. They haven't looked like themselves. The offense has been sputtering a little bit. But you know what? This reminds me of a time I don't think you want to remember, the 2017 season, where
Nick
we
Foles,
also
here
had
he
another
goes.
very cupcake walk through the season with the regular season schedule. I mean, we didn't really play anybody all too great. But all of a sudden, come playoff time, we looked like a very stout, very ready, very prepared team. And I think that's something to say because you know what? Good teams don't make mistakes. And winning the easy games is a part of being a good team. If you can win the easy games, that shows a lot about what your franchise has and what they're able to do, especially upcoming. And the Eagles have been a team who have, kind of tried to adjust to make sure that they can fix their mistakes. And we saw this, right after they got ran on by Washington like crazy. Brian Robinson had 26 rushes. They had Antonio Gibson with 10 rushes. Even Taylor Heineke ran the ball. We saw them go out and pick up Linval Joseph and Adama Kong Su just to make sure that we could really shore up that defensive line while rookie Jordan Davis is injured over these next couple weeks. So it is going to be interesting going forward, especially with the loss of Goddard. This offense really needs to turn it up, turn it on, maybe run the ball a little bit more. I think that would be a very big help to them. But to move on to our next talking point, really, something I wanted to bring up is, we see the Eagles and the Cowboys really, at the top of the NFC and at the top of the NFC East. So it's going to be very interesting moving forward to see what's going to happen. I wanted to see, what everybody's thoughts are on maybe, who's going to win this division. Is it going to be Philadelphia like I think? Or is it going to end up being the Dallas Cowboys in the end? Because both teams have seemingly a pretty easy schedule moving forward. So I think there's something to be said for both teams, really taking the cake here and making it, getting to that number one seed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to all come down to that, Christmas Eve game. Cowboys-Eagles in Dallas.
Well, it's going to be a show.
It's going to be
a show.
Get your popcorn ready, baby. That game's going to be a show. And I think whoever wins that game, takes the division. We'll see.
I'm thinking Eagles win division. Maybe make the championship game, but every year it's kind of like a holiday where I get to celebrate when Dallas loses the first game they play in the playoffs. So looking forward to that as well. Even wild card division winner, it really doesn't matter, and that's really the beauty of football, and that's why I love it so much.
That no matter what, Dallas gets shelled in the playoffs. It's been happening for our entire lifetime, the past 22 years.
It's beautiful.
What they have, two wins in the playoffs, and one was a gift. So I think it's a very interesting thing. Especially having Mike McCarthy as their head coach. I know he's won in 2009, but it's been a little bit since he's had any kind of playoff success. And same thing with this Dallas organization.
The first words I would use would not be dynamic play caller. I wouldn't say that about Mike McCarthy. I would actually
He's
say...
actually not the play caller.
Especially with Dak Midscott. I mean, he hasn't looked anything like himself. He's been quite mid. Quite mid.
Yes.
I mean, for a guy who they paid high money to, expected to be the franchise player, he doesn't look much better than Danny Dimes, who has really become Danny Nichols because he can't throw the ball for shit. So I think it's been an interesting season here.
Just as an unbiased opinion, I just think that the Eagles take the division pretty easily. It's kind of just like you talk about this game. I mean, they're still two losses behind on the Eagles right now. Say the Eagles win out and they just lose one more game to Dallas. You can see Dallas winning another game or losing another game or two even before that. So I just think the Eagles take it pretty easily. But come playoff time, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Anyone could lose or win depending on where you go. So I just think the Eagles win it pretty easily.
No,
I definitely get what you're saying with Dak, and the inconsistency that he shows week to week. One week, last week they can look like one of the best teams in the league, and then they play the Giants and they're not looking so great. So yeah, I mean, it's just I feel like it more falls on the coaching staff, the ownership. We've been, as Cowboy fans, we've been saying for years, it lies in the hands of Jerry Jones and, his boneheaded decisions and, some of the comments he makes. I mean, we just got to clean up the penalties. We got to, stop shooting ourselves in the foot. I think that the Cowboys' biggest enemy and the reason why they often fall short in the playoffs is that they hurt themselves.
And we very much saw that in the Giants game. I mean, I believe they had 10 penalties in the third quarter.
13 penalties in the game.
Dear Lord, yeah, it's hard to win a game.
Last year, they were the most penalized team in the league. This year, they are also the most penalized team in the league. And, that's unacceptable. You cannot win football games when you are the most penalized team in the game.
No, I very much agree. It's hard to win when you're constantly setting yourself back. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can only do so much, really can.
It's much easier, convert 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and then if you're moving backwards, you get holding penalties on every single drive.
And all of a sudden it's 3rd and 14.
It's hard to convert when it's 2nd and 20, 3rd and 14, like things like that. Like, it's just, you got to clean up those mistakes, man. Like, Can't be having that, especially come playoff time.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I think the thing that I, as an Eagles fan, am really most afraid of come the end of the schedule is going to be these 2 games against the New York Giants. Now, regardless of record or how you feel about them, I think that these in-division games are always a real shootout. It always makes it difficult. You're playing a team you play twice every year. They know you. They know who you are, and it ends up becoming a little difficult. I could see the Eagles splitting this series against the Giants, but I think if we really want to win the division here, we really got to take both games. I think it's doable, but I think come week 16, week 17, come really towards the end of the season when we play them for the second time, I think that's where we're going to see them really possibly have some struggles against the New York Giants, a team that could probably come back a little bit healthier the second time around when they play Philly. Something I'm excited for as a fan of football, just because I get to watch better football. I think that'll be really an interesting show out. I want to hear what you Giants fans think about that.
Yeah, I think the last week of the season will probably be more competitive than the first meeting. I mean, to be honest with you, I feel like we're gonna get shelled every week now because we just have no team. But like, I gotta say, like the coaching staff, no matter who is out there, they're putting us in the game. So I just it's gonna be competitive, but I guess we'll really have to see.
No, I very much agree.
And I think with all the injuries on the team, I think the defense still has been holding strong. If you take away that Lions game, which that was not a fun game to watch, I think there's been a lot of guys who stepped up this year, like Jihad Ward, O'Shane Zimenez, a lot of guys who not many people are aware of, but they're holding down the fort. We've had Ojulari out for most of the year. Adoree Jackson's going to be out a little while. McKinney's been out. But I think the defense is definitely the strong suit of the team, and I think one of the big losses right now, as well, I'd say more so than the receivers being out, I'd say the offensive line injuries, because that is just holding back Saquon Barkley, who's been someone who's carried the entire offense for the majority of the year. So, the injuries have definitely screwed us, but, like Angelo said, I'm happy with the way the season has gone already. Like, if the season ended right now, if we lost every game, it would still have exceeded my expectations for the season. But, I'd still like to see the team make their attempts to win as many games as possible.
Oh, makes a lot of sense. So, guys, I appreciate you guys having you guys on. You have anything else you'd like to say before we, kind of get towards the end of this podcast here?
I've got one more hot take.
Please.
I think the Dolphins are the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Okay.
A hot take.
That is a hot take. You think they're
one
gonna
game behind the Chiefs, and I think both teams have sort of mediocre schedules. I know the Chiefs play Denver twice. They play Oakland one more time. They play Houston, Cincinnati, Los Angeles, the Rams, I should say. And the Dolphins themselves, they play Buffalo, and then I think they have pretty winnable remaining games. The Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. They're good. I think they could definitely win the Super Bowl. But in terms of playoff seeding, I think the Dolphins can go on a hot run. I really like Tua. I was a doubter of Tua for the majority of his career until this year. But they've got a high-powered offense. They added Bradley Chubb. They've got a good defense. If they could just if they could just have the Chiefs slip up once, I think they could take advantage, and I think they could run away with the conference.
No, you know what? I think that's very doable for them. They've been a team that showed that with Tua, they run a very, very specific offense, very much geared towards Tua, that has been extremely effective. They were able to pick up a guy like Jeff Wilson to really help out the running game, really help bolster that old-school 49ers running game with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. Obviously, they brought over previous 49ers OC to be their head coach this year, so we really see that 49ers connection really blossom here. And I think there's a lot to be said for how good the Dolphins have been this year. They really have they've been a team that has been preparing to be good and waiting for a quarterback to really get this team going, and they were able to pick up Tyreek Hill in the offseason, a guy who's been unbelievable. He's been phenomenal. He's on pace for 2,000 yards this season. It's something we haven't seen in NFL history, and it'd be truly exciting to get to see a guy that talented do something that special. Especially near like this where Miami's really in it. They're in it to win it. They're here to be a playoff contender, and not just to be a playoff contender, to be a Super Bowl contender. And this is something I'm pretty excited about. I'm not going to lie.
They're big spenders. They're in it to win it right now. But I think the fact of the matter is, come playoff time, I think the Dolphins, having little playoff experience, the guys on their team, I don't think that translates well into the playoffs. I think it's going to be Bills Chiefs once again in that AFC Championship game, and we'll get a rematch of last year's game. So I'm looking forward to an incredible rematch.
No, makes sense. Makes sense. So, boys, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate having the other idiots on today. You know, we had a new cast today. I really do appreciate it. You guys did a great job. Thank you so much. So, from Idiot One, I really like to thank everybody for listening today. Thank you so much. You know, we really appreciate you tuning in here to the Idiots Football Show. It means the world. So, I'm going to pass it off to Idiot number 2, Dallas. You have anything you'd like to say?
Thank you guys for listening. Tune in next time.
Sounds good to me. Idiot number 3, Gareth. You got anything you'd like to say?
Really happy to be here and be part of the show.
Sounds good to me. Idiot number 4, Bernardino. You got anything you'd like to say?
Giants 2023 Super Bowl champs.
That's something right there. I'll tell you what, folks. And idiot number 5. Idiot number 5, Mr. Angelo.
I hope we kept it entertaining. I feel like it was a good show. I hope you guys enjoyed listening if you made it this far. So.
Hey, so once again, I'd really like to say that I appreciate having you guys. You know, I appreciate all the listeners we get. Really, thank you so much for being a part of the Idiots Nation here. And, you know, go Birds. Have a great week. You know,
Go Cowboys!
dear Lord. Still see you soon.